on day 2 here in H+H Americas in Chicago. Can I mention how much I love here in Chicago? It's been a while, and if you have a chance to be here, go see the Bean. Really freaking awesome. Today, we're going to be joined with Meg of SewSimplyMeg. She is a new quilt designer, just like myself, who is having her breakout year with her first pattern. She's here at the convention with myself and a couple of our other friends, and kind of getting the hang of like what it is to be in the industry and how to interact with a lot of these professionals, because I mean, for your first time it can be really daunting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just here to soak it in.
Yeah.
Just listening, listening to everybody interact. I'm even afraid to ask questions. So I'm listening to other people ask questions, because I don't even know the right questions to ask, so.
But that's kind of like for your first time, that's the way to kind of go, because you need to listen and kind of get a feel for how these guys interact. I mean, first convention I ever went to was a market. It was like in 2016, and it was so overwhelming. I wasn't even going for myself. I was going as I want to say a sidekick. I called myself in front of the other vendors the VIP support. Right? Because the person was supporting, putting out a book and all this other stuff. And so it's like, I didn't have any accolades of my own. And it was like, what in the hell am I doing here? Like, I feel like I don't belong. But it was really good to, like, listen. And I'll tell you, this show, I don't know how you feel, because this is your first show. But for me, the show is really much more approachable for somebody in my position with a smaller following and, just getting going on the patterns.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I like that I look around and people look like me. Like I didn't know what to expect, because I had no idea. Like, I see people on Instagram and I think, oh my gosh. And granted, I am seeing people that I see on Instagram, and I am kind of like fangirling a little bit about that. But then again, like, I'm talking to them then, and like they're normal people. So that's cool. But I look around and everybody's just normal people, and that's cool. So like, I feel like they're just real people, and they're just like me. Yeah. So I feel a lot more comfortable because they are just like me. Okay, I'm normal. We're all normal.
We're as normal as we can be for choosing this as our profession, right? Or as our joy and our outlet, because I will say, over the years, from like when I first went to my first industry convention to now, everyone is much more laid back and open to just people talking. Yeah. And I have a couple people in the fabric booths, like at Ruby Star and things like that, and I've talked to them about how they feel, because this is the first year for them too. This convention's only 2 years old, but like, it's the first time for Ruby Star, and I think for Free Spirit and all those others, and they said they're just kind of feeling out the waters right now, and who knows if they'll be back next year. It really depends on how many wholesalers, right? It's kind of, I'd like to see them continue, and I'd like to see this show grow, because it's a nice time of year to have it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I talked to Moda, which was really daunting, like to go up and talk to Moda and again, my goal here is to learn. So my questions for them were very, how does a designer work with Moda? It wasn't like, how do I, but it's like, what would a designer do to work with you? Yeah. Because that was my goal, and like, they were very nice, but like, the answers that I got were like, oh, okay, now I understand the things I need to go back and think about. But I'm glad they were here, because I wasn't even sure. When I first heard about this, it made it seem like fabric wasn't even part of this, because when you first walk in, all you see is fiber, yarn, and so I'm glad that fabric is here. So,
I am too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love the fact that this particular show is like an umbrella, right? And you have threads and yarn and fabric all intermingling, because at least for me as an art quilter, like, I use yarn in my work. I used to crochet, and that's kind of still my thing. So seeing what's going on in that industry and how it is affecting the fabric, right? And like, colors that might come out
Yeah.
and things like that. You can kind of get a feel because they kind of bounce off of each other a little bit.
Well, and even last night at dinner, so there was a gal sitting at our table.
Yeah.
She's been in the yarn industry for 10 years.
Yeah.
And she just had some fantastic ideas about how to approach just someone like myself, brand spanking new, not sure what to do, you know, having done my first launch, thinking now what's next. She had great ideas.
Yeah.
Things to think about, you know, next steps. If you know something's not working, pivot points to take.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's different industry, but
Same
concepts.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are great ideas.
Right.
So yeah.
And if it was just like Houston or something like that, where it's only quilting, you wouldn't get that kind
you
of.
might not get the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
and I think that's another reason why I really enjoyed, because like last night, like you said, when we went to dinner, it was hosted by the Craft Industry Alliance, which I personally love the Craft Industry Alliance. I've been a member for a couple years, and my involvement's just kept growing, and it's been really great interacting with photographers and quilters and, you know, crocheters, and just sitting at our table. We had people from a teaching application and then a crochet small business and other designers, and it was just really nice to kind of feedback and
all
get
across the industry, like the craft industry, not just the quilt industry.
Yeah.
And that's good. So because that was the other part of it, the education. The other gal sitting there, you know, she was focused on education, and I'm like, things that I never really thought about. Great ideas. You know, just it's great to get other thoughts kind of going through my head that I hadn't really focused on. My focus has been quilt pattern writing, quilt pattern marketing, quilt pattern design.
Right.
Oh, wait, there's more to this.
Yeah.
Other things to think about, you know, publishing a book, you know, going into the education aspects of this. Oh, wow, I need to broaden this. I need to, you know, think
Open
about
up a little bit.
Yes, there's so much more.
Well, and it's so hard because for so long, like, as we're taking these courses that are talking about quilt business and pattern writing and all this, they're always talking about, you know, narrow your focus, get your niche, focus on what you're doing, all this other stuff. And they do, like, the courses I've taken, they have touched on different ways to monetize and diversify, you know, that kind of thing. But you don't really think about it when your main focus is pattern design. You know, and like, I know that guild workshops, I know that's a thing. I used to be part of a very active guild that would have workshops, but it didn't even dawn on me that I could be the one reaching out and teaching these and doing lectures. But, you know, it comes with a little bit of that imposter syndrome, right? Because it's like, what if I have to say that anybody else is good? Besides you, Quilty Crew, you have to stay and listen to what I say. But, like, really, you don't feel like that your time is necessarily worth that. And it takes a little bit of, like, shoving that imposter syndrome down and being like, you know what, I do have something to bring to the table. It doesn't matter how new or old I am to this industry. I have my own perspective and my own way of doing things.
Right. And one of the thoughts that Jen, who was sitting with us last night, said is sometimes it takes, like, getting a book published and out there for that name recognition to start, you know, because for me, I am, you know, brand spanking new, and I just don't have that name recognition. So maybe I need that name recognition then for people to say, oh wait, I saw that book, or I recognize her name, or
I've heard of that.
I've heard of that before. So and then that snowballs and things start happening. So that's where I'm like, maybe I need to start doing that. So.
Yeah, it's all about credibility with books, because it's like, you are a master of this technique or this way or whatever, and so then you have authority, right? Then you can say, you know, especially on your website and things like, I am an author and a designer and all these other things, right? So it's so daunting too. Like, but you said last night that you really enjoy writing. Like,
I
writing
do like
for
writing.
me is like the worst thing in the world. I might as
like
well
writing.
pull teeth out.
I like writing. It takes time though, which that's the worst part. Like, I would love to write my blog more, but it takes time.
It does.
I actually have several blogs ready to, like, publish. I just need to go edit them and get them ready to publish.
See, you spend so much more time on it than I do, because I'm like, all right, what am I pulling out of my butt today? And all right, I'll write real quick and whatever. But it is nice, and I'm kind of getting more used to writing on my blog and kind of starting to enjoy it a little bit. Yeah. And even there, I'm starting to, I don't know if you've looked into like affiliates and like that
and
kind
I
of
should
thing.
start doing that. I mean, here's an opportunity to do that today.
Yeah, I'm going to take you to a friend and we'll talk about an affiliate program she's doing.
And again, that's one of those I need to listen, ask questions, because I don't even know how to do that. How do I start? How do I get an affiliate program? I don't know how to do that.
I don't even know. But you know what what I've learned through all of this and streaming and everything. Like, I have to just put away my self-doubt and like just go for it.
Yeah.
I will not regret just going up to somebody and just talking to them and maybe broaching a subject versus like not approaching them and not talking to them and then regretting a week later like, man, I wish I would have talked to that person at that booth.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, we were at RFL yesterday and I bought a bunch of thread. I'm like, I wonder if they have an affiliate program because I used their thread. Darn it, I should have asked.
Yeah, that's something to actually ask about.
I should ask.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back today.
I mean, you're here today and then you're heading out, right?
I'm heading out this evening,
But at least you have more time to talk. Yeah.
I do. So I should go ask them today.
Yeah. Do your second rounds and kind of like poke yourself. And I want to introduce you to that fabric designer.
Please do.
Well, I know I'm not dropping any names right now, and that'll be in the next stream today and tomorrow when we do our wrap up. Because believe me, there's so much I want to talk about. But focus is on Meg, okay? All right? But you released your first quilt pattern, the glass house quilt, right?
Correct.
Tell me how that went for you, because that's a big thing. Even though it's your first one, and you kind of like you're putting out your baby into the world and letting it go.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely birthing a child.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. And I spent months and months and months leading up to it, and I feel like it took a lot longer to get to it, but there's just so much behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, because there were things that I never even realized I needed to do. Like I had to build a website, which I didn't have.
Right.
And I still, like my website, it looks really pretty, but it just sits there. Like I have a lot of work to do on that still.
Yeah.
Then I had to figure out how to build the checkout process, and I didn't know how to do that. So I work in technology, and I still couldn't figure some of this stuff out. So I know I need to go back and polish that up. It's not the cleanest, best process right now.
Right.
So I'm going to have to work on that and make that better and smoother. So, you know, all these little connections that I had to work on after I wrote actually writing the pattern, that was the easy part in the end. Like, looking back, I'm like, that was super easy. It was all this other stuff that I didn't realize was going to take time and be so hard to do.
Effort.
So,
well, and I think that's like part of being a small business owner, right? Because like you have this idea, you have this product that you want to put out in the world, but you don't realize how many hats you have to wear.
Yeah.
You know, you're your website designer and your social media manager and your bookkeeper for taxes and all of that and your time management and like just being able to juggle all those. It can be a very overwhelming experience.
Yeah. It was a lot. And then once going through the actual launch itself, making sure I had all my social media posts all prepped and ready to go, and you know, when I'm posting what on what days, and like I had testers that had tested it, so I had to collect all of their information and make sure they all got it back to me in time, and then hound the people who didn't. And,
oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I still have 2 testers who did not finish the last pattern that I released.
Oh boy.
And they had really good reasons and family emergencies and things like that, but it was just like, I'll approach pattern testers differently next time.
I learned a lot from that too.
Yeah, well, you had a really good sized group. I ended up kind of netting a whole small group for like 3 different projects that are spanning a pretty good sized time. So people are kind of dropping off, especially people who aren't used to Discord, right? So kind of like being able to have their Instagram handle and kind of being reach out like, hey, I haven't seen you responding in the Discord for a while. Is everything okay? Are you kind of, and then they'll come back and be like, whatever, you know, and doing their thing. But it's still a little jaunting. As much as I love Discord, it's very hard for something like that with people that aren't used to Discord.
Don't use it. Yeah. I have to say, I love the fact that you set us up on Discord, and I am so glad our group uses it, and they're all active. And it's fantastic. I just love it. I look forward to posts from it. You know, I see them. I see the posts and I get all excited, and like my husband's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "Never mind." You know, I start laughing. He's like, "What's so funny?" Never mind.
No, don't worry about it. It's nothing, dear. I really do. Discord is such like anyone who's on Twitch. You guys already know how good Discord is because you have gaming communities and streamers and things you're following. But for the craft industry, Discord is still a new, unfamiliar thing that mostly their kids are doing.
Right. My son was like, "You're on Discord, Mom?" I'm like,
yeah. It's like I'm a cool mom.
Yes.
You know, but really, it's not that bad. I really love the tools, and it's so much more personable. Especially with building a community. Like, I understand, like, most of my clientele is older, and I'm fine with that, right? And they're more comfortable with something like Instagram or Facebook groups, right? But to me, that is so overwhelming because everything gets lost. And keeping track
and Instagram,
of all that.
and that's how I did my testers, was on Instagram, and it really was difficult because I did get feedback on Instagram messages, and I had to go scroll through all the messages to find it again, or they would post their pictures for me in the Instagram messages, and then I had to go back through all the messages to find the pictures, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Next time you're doing a pattern, let me know, and I'll help you set up a tester Discord if you want. Or I'll show you how mine's set up. If you like it.
If you could show me how to set up a server. I did actually suggest that, and most of them were like, "Oh no, we don't know anything about that." Now I actually think we might share a couple of testers.
We do.
And I think because they used your Discord then, so in the future if I do that, then they're already familiar about.
That was my requirement as a tester, that you had to be comfortable coming to Discord because it's easier for me as the designer. Plus, like, I'm making edits and I'm uploading my files, and instead of having to juggle all these different emails of all these different files, it's one, like, channel with my patterns. Easy to upload or change and stuff like that.
So it would be nice if everything's in one place. Definitely. So I'll have to do that in the future. So.
I'm on a revolution to introduce Discord to the craft industry because it needs to happen. I was actually talking to fabric designer, fabric company. Let's go with that one. They've been around for like 50 years, but they're a smaller group, and I wasn't fully aware of like who they were, which I kind of always feel bad when I go up to somebody and I'm like, I know I should probably know who these people are, but I don't, and it's like, okay. But like, he was very interested in Discord because he's a sales representative for his company, and so they're kind of looking at getting a younger audience in and getting more community going. And like, he was telling me how their company, they have a social media person, but they're very timid. They don't want to put themselves out. They don't want to make mistakes, right? That's the big thing. And it's just so much more humanizing to be out and be raw and be yourself and show that you can make mistakes and you know, things like that.
Well, I get that though. I mean, I think for me, my social media issue is the same. Like, I'd rather not post than post something that shows like my flaws or my, you know, something that's not correct, you know?
Right, so or unflattering, right?
Right.
How long did I go that I never took a picture of myself from my social media? Because, like, I hate pictures of myself. I think we all do in a way, right? But it's just kind of, you kind of have to just bite the bullet and be like, yeah, I've got a double chin and I'm a bigger person, but you know what?
It's real life.
It's who I am. And you're going to
There's
take
nothing
me or
wrong
leave
with
me,
that.
right?
You're still a beautiful person.
Well, maybe on the outside, not so much the inside.
Oh, you're beautiful all around. You are beautiful all around.
You can tell she's part of my quilting group because they're very flattering.
You are amazing.
At least you don't have a bag of quarters for me like TJ. Oh man, that'd be intense. Man. But thank you, Meg, so much for coming and being on the show with me.
This was fun.
Yeah, I know Meg was a little intimidated coming on because you've never really been on a live stream, have you?
Never.
No, I broke a cherry.
I don't even do live on. Yes, you did. I don't do live on Instagram or anything. I don't even do stories like this. So
man, maybe you'll start. Maybe you'll start making stories and getting yourself out there and sharing yourself to the world because you're a beautiful person and you have a lot to share. So why don't you share with our audience where they can find you, your website, your Instagram, anything you want to kind of just like broadcast to the world. Where can people find you?
All right. Well, my Instagram is SewSimplyMeg.com, and it's SEW.
Okay.
SewSimplyMeg. And my Instagram handle is SewSimplyMeg.
Yep.
Again, SEW, SewSimplyMeg. So, and that's about it. I'm on Pinterest, but I haven't done zero really
That
on
is
Pinterest.
a monster I have not unwrapped.
I'm gonna get that started, but really I'm only on Instagram right now. I've also been thinking about Facebook, but again, I don't know.
To be honest, it really is dependent on who your clientele are, because like for Twitch and for YouTube, when I post there, I can see my demographic and I know they're a younger 25 to 35 group.
Yeah.
Instagram, we're looking at 45 to 65, but if I go to Facebook, I'm looking at 55 to 65. So it really depends on who you want to be marketing to.
And I did sit in on a session here yesterday that was about marketing, and that is, so it was really focused on Facebook, and they really say, Facebook is our market. Like, that's where we should be. And a part of me is like, maybe I should be.
How many times have I heard in the last month that Pinterest is where we should be?
I know.
Right?
I know.
Everybody's got
YouTube.
their own form.
That's the other thing. They say we should be on YouTube.
It really depends on what you want to put out. And that's a whole can of worms that I can get into later, because y'all know that I'm kind of having this moment of crisis of whether we're staying with Twitch or whether we're going to YouTube. And I'll talk about it later, but there's so many being here in the industry, all these different like streaming services that are trying to kind of wrap you in, but they're more like just teaching services and Skillshare kind of things, and it's overwhelming, to be honest.
It is. So,
but thank you again so much, Meg, for coming on.
Thank you for
and
having
sharing.
me.
It's been such a pleasure. I've really had a good time streaming live here in H+H in Chicago. I can't thank everybody enough for coming out and supporting the stream and supporting. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of people just right here. There's our friend. So we've been making so many friends and connections. If you are a professional in the industry, I highly suggest at the next show, especially if it's H+H America next year, I highly suggest you come. It's very approachable, a lot of classes, a lot of learning can happen here. So, all right, guys, I will be back later. It'll just be me kind of hanging out and sewing, and we can be talking about what we're doing next. So, I'll see you guys later. Bye.